when did you officially just start dating girls, like all girls?
When I was 16, not right after I came out. Like, after I came out, like I said, me and the girl that was dating, that moved to Maryland, like, that kind of tapered off because we lived in 2 different states. So, I switched schools and I started going to South Granville, which everybody associated that school to be the lesbian school, like full of lesbians.
What does that mean? Wait a minute, tell me about that.
Like, if they know, like, if you went to South Granville, it's like a whole bunch of gay girls there.
Really?
Yeah. So when I came out or whatever, my mom was like, you know, when I told her I had my first girlfriend, because at the time I had moved in with my mom. And when I had told her, you know, I had my first girlfriend, she was asking, like, is this because you go to South Granville? Because, you know, I know it's a lot of gay people there. I'm like, Mom, no. Like, she was like, you sure this not a phase? I'm like, no. She was like, well, what makes you think you're gay? She was like, do you just think girls are pretty? I'm like, no, Mom. I want to touch them, kiss them, hold them, grab them, all of that. Like, when I first got my first girlfriend, she was at my school. We dated. We talked on the phone. I slept over her house. She slept over my house. And from then on, like, me and her dated on and off for the rest of my high school time. And then after that, until I turned about 20. So we dated probably like 4 or 5 years off and on for the rest of the time. And then after that, the story continues. When I came out, like I said, at the time I had to tell my mom because I was living with her. I can't just show up with a girl and be like, yo, this is my girlfriend. So, and then at the time, like, my dad, once he heard about it, he was kind of told me he was disappointed because I didn't tell him. And I told him the reason why, because I was kind of nervous. Like,
why were you nervous? Because
dad is a little girl. You know, you never want to disappoint your dad. So he was like, I'm always going to love you no matter whoever you love. Be my daughter. Don't you ever forget it. So that kind of made me feel good.
When I was real young, from, I'm going to say like 8 to probably like 16, I was afraid of boys. Like, I was afraid of, like, if something might happen to me. I didn't really talk to a lot of boys. I wasn't friends with a lot of boys in those eras because they brought a lot of problems. The first time I had sex was probably my first encounter with the same sex, which was at 13. It was with this other kid that lived in our neighborhood, like in our apartment complex. And it was just an oral thing. Like, so we just, you know, played around like that. And then that was that. He was like 15. I was 13. So we just was kind of exploring each other type of thing. But he's not gay now. So he has a girlfriend a girlfriend and kids and shit. And they're just a happy little family.
He's not gay. Like, I tried it. I don't like fish. No pun intended. But I don't like fish. Like, I've ate fish a lot of different fucking ways. I've tried it a lot of ways. And I've
never been with a woman. I think I'm the only person.
I'm talking about real fish.
Person. Oh.
I'm just saying, yeah, I said no pun intended, boy. That's crazy stuff. No, I was saying I don't like fish, and I tried a bunch of different ways. Like, this guy, he tried whatever with you. Y'all experimented, and you do identify as gay / queer. And he doesn't, because it was an experiment, and that's all it was.
Yeah, and I think there's just like a natural part of like growing up in your puberty kind of age.
Me and an older man. Actually, we went to Jesse's house across the street, and I had sex with a much older man. I was 14. Mm-hmm. We met him off the chat line.
Which chat line? Interactive Mail?
Yeah.
Because this chat line is so infamous because they keep coming up in my interviews when I be looking like them. Like, you, especially it tells people age too. I can lie to you because all of us in the with 3233, baby, everybody knows exactly about the damn chat line. It's a whole TikTok one where I was talking about me playing on the chat line. That damn video got 5,000 views.
Wait, what was the prompt?
It like you've reached interactive mail.
Interactive mail.
Be on there doing grown stuff, knowing good and damn well. And I'm so glad I had a deep voice. Like I used to be able to play, yeah.
Baby, when we met off interactive mail, and yeah.
Did that shape anything for you? Did that, or was it just that was just your first time?
That didn't shape anything for me. It was just my first time. I never had sex with a female. I was never interested in having sex with a female. Never wanted to.
Not even to prove, not even to just see if that was what you like, possibly.
No, I knew I didn't like it. I mean, I had seen a vagina like up close and personal. I had girlfriends and stuff up until my freshman year of high school. Mm-hmm. So, and she's now a lesbian, a butch.
Could have made it work.
Anyway,
in the beginning years, y'all.
Yeah, like I saw her vagina, and I just got really sick. I couldn't do it. It was like 8th grade. This was something came in my throat. I was just like, this can't be real.
Remember them 3 friends that I told you about that I had just met? I moved out when I was 18. I met them around 19, 20. 21 was when shit started getting popping. But I met them when I was 19, and that was when I first heard about BGC, Jack, Grindr. That was the first time I ever learned about any of that. So they was like, you just need to get on there. You just need to do it. Because they knew I was a virgin. With boys, they're like, you just need to do it. You just need to do it. I'm like, okay. So I remember I met, it was the first person that hit me up. It's sad to say. I was young, and I was just, I was hot in the tail. So I met this, I don't even know how old he was. He was definitely older than me. And yeah, I went and I slayed. And I came back to tell the story.
I had gotten divorced. I had been divorced for about 6 months. And at this point, I was still dating women, and I was also dating men. So, young lady I was dating, like, she was somebody I had grew up with in the church. Same thing in the church. Gotta find another church girl. And then I had met this guy, and I'm dating myself. I had met this guy on Yahoo 360, right? And so, dating myself real bad. My Yahoo email address was my screen name. What was it? Damn it. It was the same email address I created when I was 18 in high school, like in my Spanish class. I want to say it was like Chuck something, like Chuck 2001 or something like that. It was your
okay.
But yeah, Yahoo 360. I met him, and like we would chat and stuff. And he lived in Mississippi, so no big deal. Like I was like, okay, I'm starting to be open about this. I was dealing with like the repercussions and the emotions around like being divorced and like having your first like real adult relationship like come to an end so abruptly and like not in the like nicest ways, right? And so I met this guy, and the first time I saw him like in person, he lived maybe like 90 minutes away, like in the Delta, and I was still living in Jackson. And so he came down for a football game. I think it was like Jackson State's homecoming game. And I had literally like just moved to my apartment. I mean, like some of my furniture wasn't put together or anything like that. And so he came to town. He was like, can I come over? I want to see you, blah, blah, blah. So like, yeah, I let him come over. And like he got to the house and like started helping me put furniture together. And I was like, what is this? Like, what you doing? What we finna do? And so like he and me started putting furniture together. And he was older than me too, but he was only like 6 or 7 years. So at this point I was like 25 and he was maybe like 32. And so he's helping me put furniture together. Like we chilling on the couch, like we went and got food, just hanging out. And so like we decided to be intimate or whatever. And it was my first time like anything. Like I had never sucked dick, none of that. None of these things. Just like, okay, let's just fucking go for it. But he was like super gentle and like super like comforting and like super nourishing. Like he took his time, like all of it. And so like it was a really, really wonderful experience, I think, because I was terrified in general because you know all of it. And so like never done anything like that before. And so took his time. It was very gentle. It was like a really, really beautiful experience. Like I think about it a lot as an adult. Nice country boy. Like he worked in a school district like I did. He was like a football coach, but he was DL. And at that point I wasn't out yet either. So like it worked. It was perfect. And so after that we started a relationship and we were together for like maybe like 2.5 years. But I think about that experience in that relationship a lot as a young person, and in that age that I was, and then think about like how that shaped the relationships that I've had with men thus far. That relationship itself, it wasn't like particularly rocky or like anything like that. He valued my time, I value his. Like we spent a lot of time together, like we had keys to each other's apartments, like all of that. And so like there were moments where like quality time is like my primary love language. So like I don't care if we folding socks and we sitting on the couch folding socks together, like we spend the time. And so
that's one of mine too. I'm really big on that.
Yeah, so he made it a point to like spend as much time with me as he possibly could, and like went out of his way to make sure that I felt that he was doing that. So he was in the military, he was in the reserves, and he would on the weekends that he had drill, he would take like extra days off, and he would like come and spend the weekend with me, and then just be like, this is like really nice. And so like somebody who like not only like sees you but like hears you and hears you in the ways that like you want and need to be heard.
I had a girlfriend when I was like 16, and I was the first person I was actually like willingly intimate with. Like we were in the bed together, we were talking, and then sex just happened, you know what I'm saying? And that was like my first experience of actually knowing what it felt like to be kind of more than just someone's something. Now, my first male experience, there was a guy that I met on the ferry going from Staten Island to the city.
What's the ferry? Tell me about the ferry.
The ferry is a boat that takes you from Staten Island to Manhattan in New York, right? And on there was a boat that downstairs was a bathroom. And during the boat ride, because it's a half-hour boat ride, during the boat ride in the bathroom, that's where the get down got down. And I had met a guy. He had said, "Hey, come with me to the city." We had kind of like walked through the city, went to the village, and then we just started meeting up all the time. And then he was like, "Come home with me." At this point, I would never go home with anybody. Like I just feel I could have been about 17. I was I had kind of maybe 16 or 17, because I kind of was like in that. I was in high school, so, and we were intimate, and he made me feel that I could be with a guy, like full time. Even though it still took like another year or two for me to figure that part out, but that was the first intimate guy that I was with, like intimate. Like we were like kissing and sex and holding each other and stuff like that. And I was young. He was like in his late 20s at that time, but he had like this celebrity dating service type situation. It was like kind of like Growler before the internet, where you had to go into the office and look through pages of thumbnails or pictures, and he would set up the date for the people, you know what I mean? So I would sit with him in the office for times. We would go home together. So it was like kind of like my first puppy love type situation. But you young, you're not thinking about being settled down with nobody. You're just thinking about where's the party? Where the party at? And again, I didn't have all this fat on me. You know what I mean? I had the I was a little tender, you know.
So I know you said about within your coming out story, you were saying about being with your boyfriend on the front of the Advocate. Was that your first relationship, like your first real relationship?
Yeah, that was my first male relationship. Like
who initiated that? And who was it with? Did you never say who it was with?
Oh, DJ Robbie Rob initiated it. We met when my mom moved me to Cleveland the first time. We had met in a bathroom in Dillard's in Cleveland, and you know we smashed or whatever.
A tale as old as time.
And so we would just see each other time to time, and we would just smash or whatever. And see, this is where it starts. He had blonde hair. He was a black dude with blonde hair, right? And he had like rings on these fingers, and I just thought that was too gay. So I was like, this is not happening, right? Like, this cannot happen at all. So when I moved back to New York, you know, I did my thing. Then I came back to Cleveland. I was like, okay, since I'm living here now, I need to find somebody to actually talk to or be with. So when I moved back, I was like, I need to find somebody to be with. So when I seen him again, he was like, oh, would you please take my number? Can you please take my number? You always avoided me. So I was like, all right, cool. So he was like, come to the crib. So I came over to his house, and he was like, spend the night. So I was like, all right, spend the night. He cooked me breakfast the next day. So I was like, all right, cool. And then we would just see each other from time to time. You know what I mean? Like, and then it was like, then he took me to where he worked at, which was the AIDS Task Force. That's when I met Lewis. And then we just got into a relationship. And then when I told my mother I was gay, she put me out. And then he was like, oh, you can live with me. So we just kind of was in a relationship, you know, from that point. Like, we were in a relationship, but we were working towards being in the relationship. And then that happened. So it was like kind of like full-blown relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Out of the fact that he was just being nice to me. Like, because I was ready to move back to New York. Like, I'm not going to stay here and shit. And he was like, no, stay here, be with me, you know, I got you, you know, whatever. So I stayed, and we was together, and then we came out on the cover, and then all hell broke loose. I was so nervous of it coming out, and then when it came out, because it's like, it had me in a real feminine pose, you feel me? And I didn't.
You was very baby, it was very much, this is my man. It was very glamour shot with
Oh,
you was gonna fight for him.
It was real submissive, and I didn't like
real days of our lives.
I did not like because they didn't show us the pictures that they was gonna use before they used it, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So when it came out and I'm laying on his chest, I'm like, I look real submissive on this cover, bro. Like, what? Like, why would they do me like this?
Short.
Like, because it looked like he's 6'6", and I'm like 4'11". He made me feel like Lil' Kim, and I wasn't here for it, right? So I was like, this is some bullshit, bro. Like, why they do me like this? So I was like, all right, cool. But then when you open the magazine, they got a close-up of me on his chest.
Yes.
I'm like,
all you see is them brown eyes.
That's it. You don't see shit else. Just see eyes and me laying on his chest, looking like I'm submissive. And I'm sitting there like, damn. And then there's another picture, and I'm like in front of him, like turned backwards, trying to kiss him. You know what I'm saying? So now that's the only thing that people are talking about is the fact that we kissing inside the magazine. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is crazy. From that photograph, the Advocate wanted to put us in the Advocate, which is the gay magazine that, you know, all the gays read or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool. And then they put me in another picture where I'm like I got on this sweater, but the sweater comes like here.
So you was kind of like emo, like
it gives you prints about the sweater. I'm like, come on, man, y'all doing me dirty out here. And then so Luna, she does HIV and AIDS prevention work, and she had came to Cleveland, and we had to do this campaign, and they was like, hey, what the campaign was the opposite of what you are, right? So I said, I'm gonna be Jackie Kenny Onassis, because that's the opposite of who I am. So it was like they took a picture of our face, and then you had to take cutouts of magazines and make who you was. So, I put the Jackie O shades on. I got the hair. I got the, the trench coat with the purse. And they put it on a postcard. And I was like, oh, that's dope. That's dope. But they put it on a billboard in Cleveland. So anybody that lives in Cleveland, they know if you're coming from the west side into downtown, there's a big, huge billboard right there. So if you look up, you think that I'm doing drag because of the cutout of my face, and then I'm dressed like Jackie O from the cutout. Like, so my mother sees, this is all she sees. All she sees is the billboard of me looking like Jackie O, and she's like, oh my God, you want to be a girl? I knew it. And I'm sitting there like, what did you know? Like, you didn't even know I was gay. How the hell you knew I wanted to be a woman?
I think I was 17, about to turn 18, but that was it was no real sex. It was fondling. My first real sexual experience ended up being my first boyfriend, and that wasn't until I got in college.
Were you trans at this time?
No, I was. Looking back now, I would have been considered gender non-conforming or non-binary. I wasn't attempting to present as a woman. Didn't really present as a woman. But it was given, butch queen with a light face. It was given, butch queen but boying up the girl clothes. You know what I mean? So I would have on girls' pieces, but it was fashion back then. I used to really, as a younger girl, that's how I expressed my gender identity before transitioning into a woman. I expressed my femininity through fashion. So a lot of my pieces and stuff were always androgynous. My presentation was pretty androgynous, but I was clearly a boy. We met on the chat line, honey.
What chat line? Wait a minute. Let me pause you. What chat line? I need to know the name if you remember it.
I want to say the Baltimore Raven, I think.
So y'all had your own chat line up there, because I know it was one called Interactive Mail that was real popular.
Oh yeah, we had a chat line for Baltimore. That's the only chat line I was familiar with because, honey, I didn't have much chat line experience before I was wiped up. Me and my friends had met boys on the chat line and had met boys through A for A and BGC by that point, but that was honestly like us building our family, because a lot of those people, like a lot of us had met each other off of these platforms, but the connection just wasn't sexual or physical. So we all ended up just building family from there. But this boy was different. Like, just from talking to him on the phone, we was up peeking, because I hung with, before we got into ballroom, we were all fashion show girls, runway girls,
Mm-hmm.
And so this was during that time, and we was chilling. My friend was experimenting, doing makeup on my face. We was up all night, young, experimenting with drugs, Molly. Don't do drugs, kids. A lot of my friends got hooked. I'm just a person who's fortunate enough to be in recovery. My sister was painting my face, and she was like, and I was starting to like get bored with her painting my face. So she was like, girl, hop on the chat line. So we was on the chat line, and I put it on speaker, and me and my friends, we would kiki on the chat line. We never really took it serious. And so we would take turns talking, and sometimes we would try to sound like cunt. Sometimes we would try to sound like the trade. And so yeah, so this boy had came on, and you know, he was just being himself, and it was all very natural, and it was all very, you don't come across these on the chat line. It was very that from the door. And my friends was like egging me on, you know, in between me sending him messages and stuff. They was like egging me on, like, yeah, tell him come over. He was like offering to come over and smoke with everybody, smoke up the house and all that. And so we was like, yeah, come through and smoke, you know, or whatever. And honey, I went downstairs to take a shower and wash all the makeup off my face because, you know, I couldn't meet a boy. I had to meet a boy fresh face for the first time. Couldn't give him all that, honey. I couldn't give him performance makeup, honey. My sister comes running down 6. If anybody knows 6 Prodigy, she come running downstairs. Girl, you gonna live for him. You gonna live for him, because my friends knew my type. I've always liked them thick. I've always been into big boys, and I never really had a preference on feminine or masculine, but I always just liked people who were naturally themselves, somebody who wasn't putting on either.
Mm.
And I always, you know, I was I grew up during 90s hip hop, so I always had a thing for New York. He was all of these things. So I'm walking up the steps, and now I'm getting nervous because my friends is acting like bitch, he the one.
But he
or whatever. And I'm like, girl, like this, like they talking dumb. By this time, I'm already completely cynical. I don't even believe that gay love exists. You know? Walk up them steps, baby, turned that corner, locked eyes. It was a wrap all after that. It was a wrap all after that. He ended up chilling with me and my friends. He clicked with my friends instantly.
Oh, he was in there.
And me and him clicked instantly. And yeah, that was my first love to this day. When I met him on the chat line that day, he was DL. Never thought he would be in a relationship with somebody of the same gender, same sex. Never thought it was a thing. He met me that day and he did not let go. Unfortunately, it was a great love story. Everybody who got to experience it, all of my friends who got to witness it, I think it inspired them that gay love was possible. Honestly, I can't say anything bad about him to this day. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. One of my biggest fears was that I knew I was still figuring out my sexuality and my gender. And he knew that too. But I had so many insecurities that I wasn't able to be the partner that he deserved. And I didn't want to hold him back. And he waited for me for years. And I gave him the green light to move on. And he moved to Atlanta to meet somebody who he had been talking to. And they've been married ever since.
Wow, Bree. What? Oh my goodness, that's...
Yeah, he's a very discreet man, and he works for the government now, so I won't shout out his name, but
of course.
He does support everything I do, and if he sees this bit of this interview, he knows I always love him.